welcome to Discard. Today we've got another Game Room Tours video where we take pictures or videos of other people's collections and we get to take a look at them in video form and look for really cool display ideas, items, and all sorts of stuff in collections big or small. If you're interested in sending in your pictures of your collection, there is a video in the description that explains exactly how you can go about doing that. Let's take a look. So to start off our Game Room tours today, we have a collection that comes in from a user called Slick. There is a lot of things going on in this game room. As you can see from this full out picture of this room, it's not a massive room, but it is certainly tightly packed with a ton of display ideas, really cool shelving units, and just tons of memorabilia from games all over the place. One of the things that was noted in the email from Slick was that this is actually his kid's room. So this is just super cool. Can you imagine growing up in a room like this with all of this available to you, with all these really cool displays? Everything's in its rightful place. It's absolutely fantastic. Would have been a really cool experience to go over to a friend's house to find this awesome game room set up. So to start this off, you can see that there are different quadrants in this room set up for different types of displays, different organizational methods. Starting off on the right side of the screen here, you can see that he's got a cube style shelf. Now his cube style shelf seems to house a lot of his physical games collection. He's got games from Nintendo, GameCube, to Wii, to PlayStation 2, to Xbox, to some retro titles in there. I saw some Game Boy games in there. He's also got a Retron 5 sitting on this shelf ready to rock. But generally speaking, this is just where he's got his physical games set up and ready to pull from so he can play those games in an instant. Now, outside of just using it for games, of course, you can use these shelves to display some odds and ends. And in front of a lot of the games, you can see he's got some figures. He's got a Mega Man plush up there in the upper left. He's got all sorts of little things kind of put on the corners to kind of display out this shelf and make it more than just a storage unit for the spines of his games. And one thing I barely noticed was that the actual top of the shelf is where he's got a lot of his retro consoles. He's got his GameCube, a Dreamcast, a Super Nintendo, and a PlayStation 1 sitting there on top, just ready to rock anytime he wants to grab them. Another cool little feature of this picture is that there's actually a full-size hoverboard sitting at the lower left of this picture. Love Back to the Future. I absolutely adore the series, so that's a really cool thing to see. Now moving to the left of this cube style shelf, you're going to see one of the features of this game room that I'm really impressed with, and that's this handheld display idea. He's got a ton of Game Boy Pockets, Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advances, Game Boy Advance SPs, and they are all packed into these little floating shelves he has there. These appear to be some floating shelves that were designed as kind of ledge shelves for picture frames or photographs, like that kind of thing. But he's got them perfectly spaced out here so that they can display all of these nice handhelds and make them look great. But what's better is adding to this idea and really making it your own by adding some nice LEDs in there. As you can see from the large shot of the room, that area, that corner there where he has all of these set up, really shines because it's got that blue light there illuminating these beautiful displays. And it just goes to show, adding that extra little special feature or a little bit of a lighting effect can really make one area stand out more than the rest. Now, while there's a ton of really cool displays in this room, I definitely want to highlight that there's two arcade cabinets in here as well. There's a Neo Geo arcade cabinet and a Arcade 1-Up cabinet sitting in this room. This kid gets to wake up out of bed and look at these awesome arcade cabinets and go to town playing these anytime he wants. Now just to the left of where he has his Game Boy handhelds displayed, there's also another display where he's got wall-mounted shelving as well. And this is where we dip into some more of the modern games that he's got sitting in the back of these shelves. He's got his PS4 and some Wii U games sitting in here with a lot of displays out front of them. And generally, I'm kind of the thinking of, I really like the way spines look on a shelf, but it all kind of blends together and makes for a perfect background for something else to be displayed in front. And they're really utilizing those as a nice background for all these items they have out front. It seems like they specifically used the bottom shelf for some of their classic consoles. One thing that they've used is a couple of these little easel stands. You can find these at Michael's or any craft store or online for fairly inexpensive. and they used them to hold these controllers above their mini consoles. And then the shelf above that has the PS4 games has handhelds as well. It has his Nintendo 3DSs, which just so happen to be nice special editions. He's got one with a Charizard on it and Pikachu, as well as a Superboy, which has a nice Mario Kart cartridge sitting in it, ready to rock as well. And moving to the left of that in the game room as well, there is a mini Kallax unit. It's got 4 of these cube-style shelving areas inside of it. He's using this again for some more of his physical games, as well as some other odds and ends like figures and this PlayStation light that really makes it pop in this general area there. But as I've said before, I really like Kallax units or these cube style shelves. They just make it really easy to display stuff, easy to store stuff at the same time, and it's just a lot of space that you can utilize for a very low budget cost. But on the top of the Kallax unit to the left, he's got some of these awesome figures, one heck of a Mario light up there, as well as a Mario holder. I really love that Mario holder. I have one myself. You can still find them on eBay for fairly inexpensive. It's like a full-size Mario, and he can hold on to anything. In this case, he's got a Nintendo 3DS that he's holding there. That's another special edition of which you can kind of switch the labels out on top of them. I always wanted one of those, but I could never find one. They're awesome. And finally, getting to another much more general big shot facing a different direction. You can see where the bed starts and goes up against the wall, but on the left and the right of the bed, there are actually these big glass shelving units for displaying all sorts of different things. And what he's mostly using them for, and what I actually recommend people use these kinds of shelves for, is figures. Figures are a 360-degree thing that has detail on every single side. So having some sort of cabinet that keeps the dust off of them, that allows you to see all the different sides and angles of your figures, is actually optimum. When it comes to games or some other items, it may not be the perfect way to display those things, because generally those things have a perfect direction that you could be looking at them from. But when it comes to figures, this is perfect. So generally speaking, I think what they've done with this room is really awesome. A lot of different displays, making for varying different things to look at, different hot spots to be kind of drawing your eye to with the different lighting units that they have in there. Handhelds look fantastic, and I'm always drawn to handhelds and finding different ways to display those. There's figures displayed epically with perfect lighting behind those. Shout out to Slick and his son for making it one heck of an awesome game room. Up next, we got a fairly fast game room to take a look at, and we gotta go fast. This game room comes in from Jamie, and from this general shot, you can see he's got a slew of different colored shelves and different height shelves. This kind of does mess with your game room and making it kind of look a little bit off kilter, but he kind of aligns it with having the games on all the shelves. You know, you can have different color shelves. It doesn't really matter. As long as you kind of align them in some way, you can make a game room look really awesome. And from looking at this collection for a little bit, he seems to be kind of all over the place when he's collecting for different things, really covering retro most of the way, from Sega Saturn to Genesis to NES, Super Nintendo. He's got Game Gear games, PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Game Boy games, and you get it. He's got it all over the place. He's got consoles galore. When it comes to retro gaming, he is on top of the game. He's even got some of those new Mario Kart live Mario Karts that just came out from Nintendo. Those things are awesome, by the way. Now at the very bottom of the shelves, you can see some really cool displays down there, but that's the kind of the piece de la resistance here when it comes to this collection. So I'll kind of peer up at the very top of these shelves instead, look at where he's kind of placed some of his big boxes that came from things like consoles or special editions. This is the place where a lot of people in the gaming community like to put these. And in this scenario, he's even got different things in front of those boxes to kind of blend it all together. Another aligning factor for his game collection are these plushies, these figures, these different items that he has up there displayed all along the edge of his shelving units. And throughout the pictures that he sent a bunch of pictures of the different shelves, showing close-ups of the different types of games he has there. It seems like he's done a great job of really organizing them, keeping all the same type games together, as well as spacing things correctly. Plenty of space to grow in this collection, which is always a really nice thing to see. I think too many collectors get to a point where they're just completely packed in and get games that they really don't care about or have no use for or aren't even in the thing that they were collecting, and it just becomes kind of a mishmash of different things kind of thrown together. But in this case, he's got plenty of room to display things, to grow, and that's just a really good way of thinking. But getting to the really cool part of this game room, and one of these pictures that he sent me was this Game Boy display. What he's appeared to make here is a display that takes his Game Boy games, in their cases, their protective cases, and puts them in these little lines on these slats on this board in order to display them and their artwork. He's even gone as far as to put the Game Boy logo at the very top to really bring it all together as to what this thing actually is. And just kind of looking at this, I do have a little bit of history of being able to make things. I'm not great at making anything. I made this shelf behind me, but looking at this, it doesn't seem like that complicated of a thing to create. Maybe a lip on the shelf would be the hardest thing to create in general using a router or something like that. But I think just putting these slats in there shouldn't be too bad for the general person who knows how to kind of cut things with wood and put things together. And the first thing my brain does when I looked at this display was kind of expand it to an entire room's wall. I'd love to see somebody one day with the biggest collection of Game Boy games take all their games and slat it into an entire wall of this. Just make an entire wall dedicated to these small Game Boy games with all of their artwork shown. But shout out to Jamie for sending in those pictures. That really cool display idea really kicked me into high gear looking at this in a totally different way. Love it. And the next collection comes in from Zambria or Zambria. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce their name, but they sent in this awesome collection for us to take a look at. Most of the photos that they sent in are actually revolving around this corner of the room where they have these cube style shelves kind of sitting there. There's definitely something in me that really loves when somebody takes two shelves and puts them together in a corner like this. For some reason it reminds me of a library or just an important place to put your games. It seems really cool. But starting at the top of these shelves, he's got a bunch of the bigger boxes like we had in the previous collection kind of displayed up there. Good place to put them and get them out of the way, as well as some other odds and ends up there. He's got some Pikachus and some Yoshis sitting up there, kind of filling out the top of those shelves so it doesn't just end up being a big empty space. And at this angle, that right shelf looks like it's just for Yoshis. You have a Yoshi, a Yoshi, a Yoshi, another Yoshi, there's a Yoshi there, a Yoshi, a Squirtle, and then a Yoshi and a Yoshi. So mostly, you know, we're looking at 90% Yoshi usage on this shelf. It's pretty awesome. But turning and getting kind of a different angle of this shelf, you can see he's using it for a lot of retro games. He's got a lot of NES games back there behind his Yoshis and his Squirtle. There is a lot of games sitting on this shelf ready to rock. And then panning down to the bottom of this shelf, he's got a couple shelves kind of generically organized to kind of general system stuff. There's some Wii games mixed in with some PS2 games and other items down there. But one thing that's just kind of aligning these shelves is that he's not overusing the space in front of those games. He's got above, he's just got one Yoshi or maybe another plush in front of these games, and then down below, he's just putting a couple items down there in front of stuff. And I think that is something really helpful to remember, is putting too much stuff out in front of your games, it can really mess things up. It can make things look like a complete mess, like you don't know what you're doing, and certainly less adult of a space when it comes to a game collection. But at the bottom, he's got a bunch of his disc-based games as well as N64 games and some awesome Nintendo DS collection down there. Shout out to the Nintendo DS and 3DS. They made some fantastic games, and I agree with the thumbs up in this picture. And looking to the shelf next to this shelf that's kind of connected at the corner there, you can see that there's another shelf kind of dedicated to Wii, Wii U, PS3 games, some controllers on there, Wii U pad as well. Now to the left of that, he also has another shelf completely dedicated to Super Nintendo games. A ton of Super Nintendo games to be playing. Really awesome collection. It looks like you spent a lot of time looking for these games and hunting them down. But if you take into account all of the different items that he has in his game room, from retro games to modern games to figures to plushes, I think he's done a great job of kind of organizing and cleaning up this space to really be functional for both playing games and displaying games at the same time. And I know I say that a lot, but it's a really hard thing to do in a smaller space with a ton of stuff, to make it not seem like it's just a bunch of stuff thrown into a corner of a room, and really turning it into a more adult space where you're displaying your games and the things you love. It's just pretty cool. And of course, he does have a couple other displays throughout the room. He's got this nice table of bones sitting in the middle of the room, a nice little wall display he's got set up. But I didn't want to get too deep into those because, you know, who wants to talk about bones on a table? Now that wraps up the game collections and game rooms for today. But if you want to send in your game room or game collection, pictures of just your general games, if you have a nice display by your TV, whether your game room is small or big or medium or well displayed or not well displayed, we are looking for more photos so we can do more episodes of Discart like this in the future. If you're interested in that, in the description there is a video that explains how you can go about sending in those pictures. Definitely watch the video because it has key facts that you need to pay attention to if you want to be accepted into this. Also, if you know anybody who's got a really awesome collection, let them know that they can send in pictures of their game collections into Discard so they can be on Game Room tours in the future. But outside of that, I appreciate you coming and checking out Discard. This community is one of the best communities on the entire platform, period. I think I've gotten a total of 5 negative comments since 3 years ago when I started this channel. So I appreciate you guys being absolutely awesome, helping me to grow and helping this channel to just turn into the best Game Room display channel on the platform. So thank you very much. But if you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Other than that, just have an awesome day and collect what you love.
The birds fly south as the light leaves your